Hey you, yes you, the beautiful son of a gun staring at a screen right now. Welcome to this rather special edition of Zlim talking about boomer shooters. Now before we continue, let me quickly introduce myself. Hey there, my name is Slim Bratsky, I'm from Sweden and I got 2 kids. And I also love to cover indie first-person shooter games on this place called YouTube. You know, the best kind of games. Now with that, I tend to focus heavily on boomer shooters, as they are the best subgenre into the FPS genre, and they also take up quite a huge space in it. That said though, it doesn't mean I solely cover them. I sprinkle in some non-boom shoots here and there with some good old mods on top. However, more and more games have started to lean into the name boomer shooter. More and more we are starting to see Half-likes and Deus Ex-likes being called boomer shooters, which in my opinion is all good and fine. I honestly don't mind it one bit, as long as the game takes inspiration from the retro shooters. And yes, Half-Life, Deus Ex and System Shock are all retro shooters by now. But hey, I'm not here to talk about the name today. Today we will be diving headfirst into what I think are some fantastic benefits with playing this amazing subgenre of games, both new and old. So let's do this. So to start this off, what actually is a boomer shooter, you might be asking? Well, let me explain real quick for you. To make it very simple, a boomer shooter is a modern first-person shooter game that takes inspiration from the first-person games of the 90s, and as of late, even early 2000s. It does not necessarily have to rock old-school graphics, even though most of them do, but what it has to do is to draw inspiration from the good old retro games in one way or another. May it be movement, arenas, weaponry, objectives, or something else. So now that we have established that, let's move on to the benefits of rocking around in this subgenre of games. So first of all, let's take a moment and look back at the good old games that actually started the first-person shooter genre. The games that the modern boomer shooters draw inspiration from. I'm talking about the likes of Doom, Quake, System Shock, Deus Ex, Duke Nukem, Blood, and a lot more. Now a lot of us actually have nostalgia connected to these games, often in a good way. It reminds us of the younger days, when there wasn't as much worries and responsibilities in our heads, which of course is a great feeling and a benefit to be able to feel those feelings again. But even if you don't have nostalgia connected to them, there is a ton of things that you can get and learn out of these games. All of the games that I mentioned all have vastly different worlds, story, level design, mechanics and gameplay to them all, offering modern mods to get the experience to run both in high resolution and with great performance on modern machines. They will take you through not just history but memorable adventures where you will get a much better understanding of the evolution of the first-person shooter genre, and in return also get a better understanding of modern first-person shooter games, especially the boomer shooter kind. So in other words, there is a ton of benefits to be gained here from going back and playing the good old games that started it all, both in terms of fun to be had and understanding of the games to be gained. Knowledge to be had. Innovation might sound like a weird benefit or a headline for this video, considering it focuses a lot on the old school, but comparing it to what we see in AAA or hell most AA games today, indie games is innovative, especially looking at the new boomer shooters who often combine great from the old and implements the new, never before seen. Always focusing on having fun, being innovative, all thanks to budget restrictions and team sizes. And they also often combine different genres or mechanics. And just another great aspect that really shines in both new and old boomer shooters is how well every weapon serves a unique purpose, as well as the enemies. It's often a case of many different weapons with a lot of different attributes to them, making all the different enemies with different mechanics to them easier or harder to actually take down, opting for you to switch to the right tool for the right job. And this results in a never-ending excitement when it comes to boomer shooters. The excitement of not fully knowing what arsenal the game will introduce you to, or what wacky, crazy enemies will show up. Literally anything and everything is being put into a boomer shooter today, and oh so often with a great punch and powerful feeling to it. Oh, and in 99% of the time, you carry the whole arsenal with you at any given time. There is no choose between this and that gun. You are literally a walking nuke, a death machine, a tool of huge destruction. And it's actually quite fun. Now, a more obvious point in this video would of course be the strings. The strings attached to big corpos. Sure, an indie team is smaller in size, has a much smaller budget, but they don't have the big papa with a suit on telling them what they can and cannot do to earn as much money as possible. Now, I totally understand that indie developers have to make money as well, but the thing is they have a completely different approach to how to actually make money. Take a look at Warner Brothers, Sony or Blizzard, three humongous AAA studios. They think they will make the most amount of money by making their game live services, making us rent their game and pay for in-game things that should have been there from the get-go. And not only for multiplayer games that evolves over time, I'm talking about regular ass single player campaign games as well. Now, a fun thing that further proves my point that this is a bad idea is a really successful AAA game called Harry Potter, a non-live service game by Warner Brothers and one of very few successful AAA games as of late. No live service, a single player campaign that focuses on fun. And voila, a formula for success. Yet they want to make the sequel a live motherfreaking service game in the vein of their latest one, Kill the Justice League, which was a total flop. If you're sitting on the answer on how someone so unincredibly interested in games can pull the strings for a huge gaming company, then please, by all means, let me know in the comments how that actually works, because the more I think of it, the more insane I actually go. Now, this might be the biggest benefit of them all, my friends. I'm talking about the community surrounding boomer shooters and its mods. It's outright amazing. Just take the Bratz Boom Corner on Discord as an example. One that you should definitely join, by the way. I mean, we talk about any game in there with a focus on boom shoots, but we also support each other, listen to one another's stories, show love, make friends, play games together. It's like a freaking second family on the internet. And we're not just players in there. There's a ton of indie developers as well, and they don't just solely focus on their own game. They support other indie developers in there, interact with us, the players, and are just phenomenal from A to B. Still not convinced boom shoots are for you? Well, my friends, let me introduce you to the mods, especially Doom, Quake and Half-Life mods. Holy meatballs and macaronis, there's literally something for every individual on this earth here. Take the Doom modding scene as an example. I've recently started digging my teeth into it, and thus far I played through an alien-like horror game, a Super Mario inspired mod with demons and shotguns in it, a deathmatch mod that took my insanity to a new level, and that is merely scratching the very tip of the surface. And I know, fiddling with mods, it sounds scary. Playing around with the video game's files inside of your PC, it's just scary stuff. But I have a tutorial on how to get started with the Doom mods, and it is literally as easy as 1, 2, 3. So I will drop that in the pinned comment for you as well. Now, this topic is a bit of a personal preference, but I still see the option of it as a huge benefit to everyone and anyone. Alright, so I'm taking myself as an example here. I'm a dad of 2 wonderful kids, a husband to a beautiful wife, and a worker to a massive company. Between all of that, I also create YouTube videos. All of that means I have very little time for my hobby called gaming. Hence, it is a wonderful benefit playing boomer shooters where you can jump in and out of as you please, especially with a feature called Quick Save that a lot of the boom shoots are rocking. It's a feature that lets you save at any second in the game and jump right back into the exact same second that you saved on. It doesn't matter if it's in the middle of a boss fight or sewer or wherever. A feature that saved me multiple times from having to replay the same sections again. I mean, as a dad, heck, even as a human being, unexpected things can happen at any given time. So being able to quick save takes off a lot of frustration that otherwise replaying the same segments would have done. You don't need the latest or greatest hardware to actually play the latest and greatest boom shoots. Now, most games, they might not look great to you, and hell, compared to most AAA games, they don't, not on a technical level. But the artistic designs, the experimental approaches, the mix between old and new can turn out to baffle even the pickiest of graphic nerds at times. Most times, mind-blowing graphics is not the main focus of the game, however. It's still about the gameplay. And without the prior mentioned strings attached to the development, it allows the developers to truly follow their vision, creating some of the weirdest and coolest looking things that you can find in the gaming space, all while not requiring a monster of a PC or PlayStation 5 or Xbox to actually run. A potato PC is for the majority of the times just enough, which in return, if you have a monster PC, it lets you run the games at massive frames per second. And hey, they won't actually cost you a liver and your soul to play. Now a big chunk of them are also available on GOG.com, meaning if you buy them from there, they are yours to keep forever. You get the actual .exe file and don't need any launcher or anything like that to run them. You can totally definitely use my affiliate link when shopping there as well. I'll link it in the pinned comment. You'll get fantastic games at great prices, all while giving me a cut of your purchase for no additional cost. I mean, it's a win-win scenario for all of us. Woohoo! Now in all seriousness though, indie games are much cheaper than AAA games. Sure, some shorter, some have less content in them, but they offer a hell of a lot more fun, and the amount of content per dollar is through the roof compared to the $70 quadruple A games. I'm just saying, guys, it's facts. Now, have you ever dreamt of actually being good at a game? You know, like Poop Slinger himself, the one guy who wins all of our community nights. The community nights where we play games such as Doom, Doombringer, Quake and so on. Well, you will never become as good as him, just forget about that dream. But boom shoots, they do tend to be quite fast at times, and I know that scares off a lot of people, but please, don't let it scare you off. They might look intimidating, but they really aren't, and they will not only train your reflexes, but also your in-game movements, your aim, your ability to do multiple things like avoiding projectiles and switching weapons. It's like a big old training ground for all your senses, and it will eventually reflect your skill in most shooter games. I mean, I'm a living proof of just that. And yes, there are multiple difficulty options in pretty much all boomer shooters. I'm having a hard time thinking of one game where I would say, no, you will not be able to pass this one. I mean, all you gotta do is start off easy and amp it up as you feel like it. Shooting aside though, there is a lot more to be gained from boomer shooters. Now a lot of the people are of the impression that boom shoots are simply aim and shoot. And yes, some are just like that, so if you want just that, well, there are a bunch of games just for you. But there are also those with light and heavy story implemented in them. Now I would say that the majority, they have light story implemented, with some lore and guidance between levels, or notes that you can read. So what I'm saying here, if you seek either of the options, there is surely something for you here. What there isn't though, is plenty of cutscenes. Cutscenes that are 10 minutes long. I mean, you will have to dig really hard to actually find that, which I personally see as a weird but great benefit, as it means I get to regulate how deep I want to focus on the story. So don't miss out on the love. Join the Discord today, and while you do that, let's go together as a family and check out these.